Hello there, this is Meow, then a love interest. And today we are talking about the cat of nine tails, Catwoman herself, as she's been represented over the years. In this episode, let's unsheath our claws with the Countess of Criminality and chat about her plots to steal untold riches of historical significance. We'll get into her schemes, her relationship with the Bat family, and what all this means for the hip cats in the audience. Let's get started. The Princess of Plunder is always defined by her fur-raising felonies, so let's start with the nefarious schemes our Marchioness of Misdemeanors is up to in the Batman 1966 television show.
Don't try to pull the wool over our eye slits.
Now, would I do a thing like that?
The third season of the show had a bit of a different structure. First, each episode ended with a tease of whom would be the villain of the next caper. So Catwoman first appears here in episode 13, after that story was concluded.
Just 1 minute, Catwoman.
Meaning that she may technically appear in 5 episodes, but she is the villain of the show for only 3 of them. Second, not every episode was a two-parter. Catwoman has a scheme for this episode, and then it wraps up with a different villain reveal. She does appear in 1 two-part episode, along with the Joker, meaning she attempts only 2 schemes in this season.
I said ridiculous, nonsense, foolish prattle.
The first plot is motivated by her desire to be the best dressed in Gotham City. She intends to steal the Golden Fleece from Queen Bess to prove the point. Along the way, she kidnaps Batgirl, Barbara Gordon being an addition to this season of the show, as well as interrupting some high society events, a fashion show, and a luncheon. Interesting.
After you suffer the effects of my hair-raising balm, you will never be able to raise your heads in public again.
This episode features much of what makes the show delightful. Cat puns, disguises, one-liners, and nefarious schemes being foiled by the Caped Crusaders.
There are no fashion shows where you're going, Catwoman.
Catwoman steals a national treasure. Not the first time this has happened.
The Batagonian cat's eye opal.
And this one doesn't seem to be especially cat-oriented to me, but they were running low on those puns by the end of last season.
Cat's eye opals? They're bad luck.
As usual, Catwoman gets Batman all tied up halfway through the caper, though Batgirl soon comes out on top.
There's only one ingredient missing in this tube. Look again, Catwoman.
Which of course means that then Batgirl has to be captured. It wouldn't be a Batman episode if our villain didn't put one of our heroes in a perilous position, and then conveniently leave for them to escape.
To cut you into a perfect pinafore.
Things are going quite well for Catwoman. She gets the fleece. But then Batman shows up, and Manx and Angora here are no match for Batman and Robin, let alone Batgirl. So Catwoman's scheme fails, and back to jail she goes.
Let's go. Warden Crichton awaits.
A couple of episodes later, Joker is being released from prison. He's reformed, you know.
Oh, you must have me confused with somebody else, Warden. I'm a reformed man.
Until, oh no, he's catnapped by Catwoman.
Get in this car or I'll blow whatever little brains you have out.
And they ride off in her Cadillac, or kitty car. Now, this caper will take 2 episodes to pull off, and it is a complicated one.
Shall I catalogue it for you, Joker?
Categorically, Catwoman.
They plan to blow up the federal depository so they can rob it, which fits Catwoman's usual preference for gaining riches. This requires uncovering a hidden cache of gunpowder.
It was written by Garçon Maltese, the famous crook, and it's a clue to 1 million pounds of gunpowder.
And finding that means using this poem, this cradle, and this hip cat's nightshirt. A little convoluted just to get some gunpowder, perhaps, but after all,
we're not common thieves.
No.
First up, the home of Louis Groovy, where his knowledge of martial arts is no match for our villains.
Karate isn't effective unless accompanied by yelling. Let him howl until he sprains a vocal cord.
Hi!
In the act of stealing the cat's pajamas, Batman and Robin burst in and fight the henchmen. Catwoman helps a bit, which is unusual for her. Under the belief that Joker was catnapped, Batman trusts his apology.
Let bygones be bygones. I'd like to shake hands with both of you.
Which is, of course, a trick, and our villains escape with a nightshirt. The second stop is stealing this cat's cradle, and that goes off without a hitch. The next episode reveals that Batgirl's bat cycle has been tampered with, and she is at the villain's mercy. Catwoman has a plan to deal with her.
Those cat's whiskers, a fiendish invention of mine. They automatically contract when placed in close contact with the heat of the body. Batgirl will be strangled to death.
In their secret lair, which has fantastic decoration.
You like it, Joker?
It's me. It's like I never left home.
Catwoman explains that the shirt is a map, and the cradle has further directions. Then she demonstrates a thorough knowledge of French, as well as an understanding of the bizarre logic behind the poem.
De l'ex de plein, marchez 50 mètres au nord. De la 50 pieds sur la droite. Essayez de trouver une pierre plantée dans la tête.
What's that supposed to mean?
Exactly the opposite of what it says.
Off our villains head to the lighthouse, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Keeper, with our heroes trailing behind. Catwoman counts the paces, and they take the Keepers captive.
Should be around here somewhere, unless I counted wrong.
The dynamic duo show up with Batgirl, resulting in the cache of gunpowder, and the lighthouse going up in smoke. Fortunately, Batman
was able to infuse this one room with anti-blast bat powder.
Surprisingly, this is not the end of the episode, despite obviously being the end of the scheme, but it is followed by a fairly unique plot. Catwoman calls Lucky Pierre, a renowned defense lawyer.
I want benefit of counsel.
Catwoman and Joker proceed to go to trial, and
Pierre
has a plan up his sleeve.
I can't understand his tactics.
I know what I'm doing, Joker.
Oh.
You're doing fine, Lucky.
He arranged for truly a jury of our villain's peers.
Not guilty of any of the charges.
Hey, that's no Foreman, that's Marvin the Moose. He used to work with Catwoman.
And that second fellow is Dave the Dummy. He's also worked with Catwoman.
And a fight breaks out.
All right, now.
That can't be proper courtroom proceedings. So our villains are foiled at last, and presumably back to jail they go.
Well, you never learn that you cannot outwit the law.
Maybe one day I will, Batman. Perhaps.
Despite only appearing in 3 episodes, Catwoman is poised, prepared, and perpetually villainous. In the first caper, she outwits the heroes repeatedly throughout the episode. She is only unsuccessful in the end because her henchmen lose a fight. In the second, Catwoman may team up with Joker, but she is certainly the mastermind of the scheme. She knows how the pieces fit together, and while he is helpful at a few points, she is running the show.
Our next move is to purloin.
And she's more than up to the task. It isn't until this moment that she's put back on her pause.
Some sort of perfidious trick.
Last cat has crossed our path. From now on, all the luck is with us.
And then she knows just who to call to get them out of the situation, and almost succeeds. I have no doubt that she spent little time in prison, and was soon out there coming up with complicated robberies yet again. She may have had a briefer run than her predecessor, but she proves herself to be a worthy foe for the Caped Crusader.
The mere thought of pulling a caper without your masked meddling would be most perturbing to me.
So let's get into their relationship in these episodes. In the movie version of Batman 66, Catwoman disguises herself as Miss Kitka, who is a honey trap for Bruce Wayne. Batman falls hard for her until her own fall reveals her identity.
Holy heartbreak. Miss Kitka.
In the previous seasons of Batman 66, Catwoman is more of a friendly foe than an outright antagonist. Oh, she is ruthless, but she is deeply invested in Batman and getting him to join her. She even considers going straight to team up with him, or at least entertains the idea occasionally.
But I can help you in your work. As a former criminal, I'd be invaluable. I can reform. Honestly, I can.
But in this season, Catwoman and Batman do not have much in the way of a relationship. Catwoman never encounters Bruce Wayne. When she runs into Batman, they do flirt a bit.
Credit where credit is due, Robin. She may be evil, but she is attractive. You'll know more about that in a couple of years.
I hereby remit myself to your muscular custody.
But there's no longer anything charged about their interactions, and we don't see a softer side for either of them.
I'm going to send Batman the first of several little tokens of my affection.
This is Batman, Catwoman.
Oh. Speak of the angel.
So instead, let's talk about a different Batgirl. Now, in this iteration of the story, Batgirl is Barbara Gordon, mild-mannered librarian by day, daughter of Commissioner Gordon, and Gotham's premier crime fightress by night. She's on the same side as Batman and Robin, but Batman objects to her joining the team officially.
But I wouldn't dream of endangering that fair lady's head. No, you'd better leave the crime fighting to the men.
Both are hiding their secret identities from everyone, including each other, so Batgirl has to rely on eavesdropping and subterfuge to join in the crime fighting.
You constantly amaze me, Batgirl. I can't figure out how you manage to stay on top of a caper as quickly as we do.
Tea leaves, stars, crystal gazing.
Batman provides this rather provoking summation of the situation.
She's a woman, Robin, with a woman's inborn desire to outsmart men.
So let's dive into how that's working out for him. In episode 14, Catwoman's scheme kicks off with stealing this picture and sending a telegram to Commissioner Gordon and Batman to tell them her plan with the Golden Fleece.
Manx, take a telegram.
And I'm going to get away with it. Signed, Catwoman. That's the message, Batman.
She expects to win without even keeping her schemes a secret.
What an enormous ego she has telling us her plan.
On the other side, though Batman makes an effort to keep Batgirl out of it, Barbara learns about the plot from her father in a very funny scene.
I won't tell Batgirl a thing.
Won't tell Batgirl what, Daddy?
I guess I can tell you. After all, you're not Batgirl.
When Batman and Robin arrive as expected, Catwoman keeps them distracted while her henchmen get the drop on them, using a tiny net.
Yes, a tiny net is a death sentence. It's a net and it's tiny.
Catwoman enjoys her success, but is still concerned about the real threat.
Batgirl.
Our heroine arrives right on cue.
Look again, Catwoman.
She knows exactly how to escape the dynamic duo, but it is no way to escape Batgirl.
Catwoman's going into the model's dressing room. What are we going to do? We can't step into that most hallowed and forbidden no man's land without closing our eyes.
They will not step into this most hallowed and forbidden no man's land. But Batgirl will.
That allows Catwoman to take Batgirl captive, and she gets away from the boys quite easily. In her lair, Catwoman and Batgirl have a frank discussion about the gender politics of heroism.
And no hero worth his salt will let a lady expire.
We who enforce the law would gladly lay down our lives for it. Batman won't be here.
What will Batman do?
You'd better pray that Batman is a man more than he is a policeman.
Catwoman calls him to put her paw on the scale. She wants Batgirl to be rescued so she can go through with her plan of stealing the Golden Fleece. She is playing into Batman's ideas of heroism to distract him.
No, you'd better leave the crime fighting to the men.
It would appear that your mind is not really on the subject you're pursuing.
Very observant, Alfred. My mind's on Batgirl.
But there is someone neither lady can account for. Alfred.
No, I'm the oldest living hippie in this country.
He rescues Batgirl, and that allows Batman to go thwart Catwoman.
Batgirl.
Not a perfect pinafore, Catwoman.
The usual ending fight ensues, and Catwoman ends up captured, with particular malice towards Batgirl. You can read this interaction as being, well, catty.
How can Batgirl be the best anything when Catwoman is around?
And you, Catwoman, are an even bigger fool than I thought you were.
But it might be more than that. First, Catwoman doesn't know Batgirl was freed. Presumably, she thinks she managed to escape on her own and is therefore a formidable foe. More formidable, in fact, than Batman.
We can fight our own battle.
Second, Batgirl's original idea was to be bait for Catwoman.
You might be able to capture Catwoman by using Batgirl as the bait.
Never.
Batman refused to allow this plan, but Catwoman then uses Batgirl as bait for Batman.
Be here at 3 o'clock on the button if you don't want to find Batgirl beside herself.
Except that doesn't work either, and Batgirl goes to save the day alongside him, hidden identity intact, and having survived being bait. So it provides Batgirl the opportunity she wanted to prove herself as a hero in her own right, and it provides Catwoman with a new challenger to outwit. Batman is always prepared and, of course, has a hand in how justice is served. This is his show, after all. But the ladies manage to get one over on him a few times and prove what they're capable of.
Whom are you referring?
None other than Batgirl, the distaff crime fighter.
In the two-part episodes, this continues. Catwoman correctly predicts that Batman will discover their location after she sends him a token of her affection, and leaves behind a clue because she wants him to follow.
The missing corner of this parchment was intentionally left in that flea bag of a hotel room.
So again, she is quite obvious with her schemes, assured that she is more than a match for the dynamic duo.
Permanently purge Batman, Batgirl, and Robin.
Batgirl appears on the scene just in time to take the same clue, and she is the one to determine its origin and purpose.
Stars, crystal gazing, all part of a woman crime fighter's arsenal, Batman.
She calls Batman using the commissioner's phone and tells him what to do.
Just as there are secrets in crime fighting, so should every crime fighter be allowed his or her secret. Just meet me immediately at the apartment of Little Louie Groovy, 27 Disc Drive.
He and Robin arrive in time to find Catwoman and Joker mid-robbery, and our villains easily trick him.
One by one, your 5 senses will leave you.
And leave the duo to die, only to be saved just in time by Batgirl.
What took you so long, Batgirl?
Rush hour traffic, plus all the lights were against me.
She has figured out the scheme and leads the investigation. Batman begrudgingly allows her to accompany them. After missing the villains, Batgirl finds that her bat cycle won't work, and Catwoman reveals why.
Looking for something, Batgirl.
Like this spark plug, perhaps?
She also has the perfect method of capturing our heroine to ensure she won't be able to follow them.
Those cat's whiskers, a fiendish invention of mine. They automatically contract when placed in close contact with the heat of the body, thereby ridding Gotham City of 1/3 of the terrific trio.
Except this time, she frees herself from Catwoman's clutches using her own ingenuity.
As the sprinkling system has caused the cat whiskers to expand rather than contract.
And Batgirl catches up with the dynamic duo to go tail the villains. They head out to the lighthouse, and it is really Batgirl who has put an end to Catwoman's schemes.
Batgirl just called me, Batman. She wants you to meet her at the intersection of Cattail Lane and 9 Lives Alley as soon as possible.
The terrific trio may have foiled their plans, but Catwoman has another way to outwit the Caped Crusader. She knows he'll follow the rules, and she intends to take advantage of that fact.
And if all goes well, knock on wood, I'll have you sprung before Pussy Willow time.
That doesn't exactly work out, of course, so Catwoman is again thwarted by a physical altercation. Overall, Catwoman is going to lose as the villain, and the lack of two-parters means that she is not shown to be quite as ingenious in finding ways to capture Batman and Robin as before.
A fiendish invention of mine.
However, she plays on Batman's righteousness and can often predict what he will do.
He's as evilly clever as we.
So she is willing to advertise her own criminality because she is certain of her success.
Do they know about that poem?
If they don't, they should.
Until Batgirl comes along.
But I think I've come upon something that may help you in your search for Catwoman and the Joker.
Gotham's crime fightress shows incredible ingenuity herself, figuring out Catwoman's schemes and how to lend a hand in stopping them.
You can't go in there, but I can, and with my eyes wide open.
In this episode, her predictions worked out better than anyone else's, and she had a better understanding of Catwoman's plot than her own partner did.
Oh, your voice has a nice lilt, Catwoman. But just what does all that mean?
Well, the poem would have led us to the clues, and without the clues, we're lost.
So Batman may not be fully outwitted by our villainess, but the fact that he only wins the day through a fist fight is certainly interesting.
I never make a mistake.
And he is continually tricked by Batgirl.
Or will we get in touch with you, Batgirl, in case we find some more clues?
Where can I get in touch with you, Batman?
I appreciate that we don't have a cat fight. Batgirl is more of a threat to Catwoman in this episode than Batman is, and that makes their relationship pretty compelling to watch. I just wish we'd had a few more episodes to explore it further.
You see, when I do a job, I do it right.
But I enjoy what has been established. Batgirl outwits Batman and her father as she hides her identity and uncovers clues, so she can continue to be a force for good. Catwoman outwits Batman as she brazenly reveals her plans, so she can continue to be a force for evil. It's an interesting dichotomy. So let's dig into what that means for us ladies watching.
Then we'll see who's the fairest of them all.
By the third season of Batman, ratings were plummeting. The budget was slashed, and episodes aired just once a week instead of twice. Batgirl was brought in to hopefully expand the audience, and while that did work on my mother as a child, who then aspired to be a librarian, it was ultimately unsuccessful, and the show was cancelled.
We're certainly never going to see the inside of the Federal Depository and all that dough.
Maybe later, Joker.
It was not Eartha Kitt's casting, to be clear, that ended the show. As far as I can tell, there wasn't really any backlash.
How about a cigar to celebrate the occasion?
What I find interesting is how groundbreaking she was written to be in a program that previously somewhat mocked civil rights and certainly second-wave feminism.
There's only one way for us to get our rights. We must let the world know about them.
But let's start with what was not an improvement this season. Catwoman and Batman's romance was a significant part of Season 2, and of the characters in general. As I mentioned in the last section, it is blatantly absent in this season, other than this one exchange, of course.
She may be evil, but she is attractive. You'll know more about that in a couple of years.
I hereby remit myself to your muscular custody.
Catwoman and Batman are only on screen together if there is some kind of buffer. It is a little obvious how much care was taken in ensuring that there was no hint of miscegenation, something that was still illegal in many states until this episode was airing. This famous interracial kiss occurred only slightly before Kitt's tenure as Catwoman, and this one not until afterward. So as unfortunate as it was to cut out something important to the development of both characters, we can probably understand why. What is more important, I think, is that she was cast at all, and that her race has otherwise extremely little to do with her writing.
A cat is a cat. She has no race, creed, or color. The way I feel about myself as an entertainer. I have no race, creed, or color. I belong to everyone.
So let's get into the positives. First, Catwoman is mainly opposed by Batgirl, a white librarian. There is nothing about their interactions that would give a modern viewer pause. It does not suggest that Batgirl is the icon of aspirational femininity as an educated woman, while Catwoman is everything a lady should not be, as a criminal.
In any comparison between Batgirl and myself, she runs a poor third.
In fact, their costumes are fairly similar in material and silhouette. My point is that the two are not pushed into a false dichotomy or portrayed in a way that suggests all women fall into one of two categories.
I guess you can never trust a woman.
You made a hasty generalization, Robin. It's a bad habit to get into.
Catwoman is a villain because she wants to exercise her intellect and gain riches.
This is the most cataclysmic plan in my catalogue of crime.
Speaking of evil crime sprees,
Shall I catalogue it for you, Joker?
Batgirl is a hero because she wants to use her knowledge and training to help people.
We who enforce the law would gladly lay down our lives for it.
Both are intelligent women with different goals in life, and that's very valid. Next, I have to talk about this scene.
Just a minute, Catwoman. You can't come here and disrupt a luncheon like this.
As you may be aware, especially if you watch this video, Eartha Kitt was invited to a luncheon at the White House by the First Lady. Kitt grew frustrated with the charade when it became clear that no hard-hitting topics would be addressed. So when asked a question, she gave her honest response.
About delinquency in the United States, which we're all interested in, and actually that's why we're here today. But what do we do about delinquent parents? The parents who have to go to work, for instance, who can't spend the time with their children that they should. This, I think, is our main problem.
And that led to her being blacklisted in the United States, as well as having her phone tapped. And she spent the next decade or so working in Europe instead.
And I couldn't find work. I thought, well, maybe my popularity is waning. You don't expect anything like that to be happening in your own country?
So you can imagine my shock when Eartha Kitt's first appearance as Catwoman includes her crashing a luncheon of wealthy ladies and disrupting it.
You ladies with your fancy hairdos, what do you know about beauty?
And this aired several months before the White House situation. I'm honestly not sure if this falls into a good portrayal of a black woman or not, but it is certainly revealing about the culture at the time to have the black villainess invade some traditionally white spaces, attacking the women there by undoing their careful hairstyles. And then stealing a bunch of dresses from a boutique fashion show.
Let no one say that Catwoman is not the best-dressed woman in the world.
Was that intentional commentary on what folks were worried about at the time? I'm doubtful it was on purpose, though they were known to attempt political commentary in this show.
They might even declare war on our country.
Belgravia is such a small country. We'd beat them in a few hours.
Yes, and then we'd have to support them for years.
It would not be out of character for the previous iteration of Catwoman to do such a heist, but it certainly raised my eyebrows. I'm not sure if it is necessarily good, since she is the villain doing this, but it is not unlike this moment in Pretty Woman.
You work on commission, right? Yes. Big mistake. Big. Huge.
So it may have been a little cathartic for viewers.
Just a minute, Catwoman. You can't come here and disrupt a luncheon like this.
But I can, gentlemen. And I have.
In any case, the third thing I want to address is how Catwoman is portrayed as a villain. Without the softening effect of romance, this Catwoman is a far more formidable foe than she has been before. In all 3 episodes, she knows exactly what she is doing and would not back down to anyone.
Who are you?
Catwoman.
Portland?
Sorry, Queenie, but I'm anti-social.
Like Lee Merriweather's Catwoman, Eartha Kitt works with one of the most popular male villains. And like her predecessor, she shows him up the whole time.
Kill them, I hope.
No, Joker.
This is Catwoman's scheme, her hideout, her henchmen, her lawyer, and even her former associates.
He used to work with Catwoman.
And that second fellow, he's also worked with Catwoman.
She is running the show in all 3 of her appearances.
The addition of the Queen of Criminals, the Princess of Plunder, yours untruly.
I have a video on Calypso in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and how the way she is written means that this black woman is one of the most powerful creatures on Earth, actually.
As changing and harsh and untamable as the sea, trapped in this single form.
And the other most powerful person on screen gets all his power and angst directly from her.
Finally, when we could be together again, you weren't there.
My heart will always belong to you.
It's frankly a position in the narrative in which black women are rarely cast.
Same story, different version.
And this Catwoman is pretty much the same way. She's fiercer than Batman's other foes, she's more brazen about her crimes, and she gets very close to getting away with it every time.
What an enormous ego she has telling us her plan.
Other versions of Catwoman may have more supernatural powers than this one, but few come close in terms of mastery over Gotham City.
It's Catwoman!
Catwoman!
It's just lucky that her aims are limited to gaining wealth. If she had higher aspirations, things would be truly dire for the dynamic duo.
Permanently purge Batman, Batgirl, and Robin, the boy wonder.
In this book, the author talks about the final appearance of Catwoman as a definitive end to the version of the character played by Eartha Kitt. You see, in this episode, a different villainess breaks out the rogues gallery from jail, and we clearly see a Catwoman who resembles Julie Newmar's, not Eartha Kitt's. But I choose to interpret this possible mix-up differently. Catwoman may not have succeeded in fixing this trial, but no jail can hold her for long, and she's probably out there coming up with her next scheme. And good for her, honestly.
Thereby ridding Gotham City of 1/3 of the terrific trio. You see, when I do a job, I do it right.
It was perhaps not an easy thing for Eartha Kitt to take over a character who had been white for 25 years and make it her own. But no one could say she was anything but successful.
To cut you into a perfect pinafore.
She owns the Catwoman at least as much as her predecessors. And she brings another side to the character than we had seen before.
In other words, we are in the catbird seat.
This Catwoman is a brilliant woman, outsmarting Batman and only being challenged by Batgirl. And Eartha Kitt brings an unprecedented level of menace to the felonious feline.
Well, you never learn that you cannot outwit the law.
Maybe one day I will, Batman. Perhaps.
Though Catwoman would not appear on screen for a few decades afterward, her perfect portrayal created a perpetual precedent for the impending Princesses of Plunder.
Far too simple, Joker. And not half as much fun as being devilishly clever.
So is this Catwoman, meow, then a love interest?
In the adorable fur.
Of course, more so here than ever before. What does Catwoman care for Batman? Not a whisker. She enjoys outwitting him and his little bird, and is pleased to advertise her crimes so that the dynamic duo realize how far behind her they are.
We steal the golden fleece there. At the precise moment the turgid twosome arrive here.
The only challenge worthy of her is Batgirl, who is currently outwitting the Caped Crusader herself. Catwoman may not win the day, but she is obviously in her element. When she teams up with one of the greatest villains, she runs the scheme, and he follows along.
It's perfectly obvious, Joker.
So she deigns to establish how far above the rest of the rogues gallery she really is. She is the Countess of Criminality in Gotham, and you had better not forget it.
Of the Queen of Criminals, the Princess of Plunder, yours untruly.
Thank you for listening to me talk about the fiercest Catwoman. Join me later this month to talk about my favorite Halloween heroine, Lisa Frankenstein.
That's really weird, Lisa.
Please like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, join my Patreon, buy me a coffee, all the things so you don't miss it. See you then.